Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sync Up Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things OneDrive. OneDrive is the home for all of the files that you care about most, and we are here to take you behind the scenes to get the insights and the knowledge to make your experience and your users' experiences better. My name is Stephen Rice, and I'm a Principal Product Manager on the OneDrive team, and as always, I am joined by my intrepid OneDrive co-host, Arvind Mishra.
Hello, everyone. I'm Arvind. I'm also a product manager on the OneDrive team. Before we get started, I want to have two quick plugs here. The first is for our OneDrive newsletter. We've had this newsletter out for, I guess, a couple of months now, and lots of people are subscribing to it, and you would want to as well. You can do that by going to https:/aka.ms/OneDrive/join. Or I would also like to give us a plug for questions. We know a lot of people have questions. We see them. We see you in the chat. We see you lurking. You don't have to lurk anymore. You can write to us directly. If you want to email us with questions, you can hit us up directly at syncupquestions@microsoft.com. So today, we've got a great show for you. It's all about the robots. I'm kidding. Today, we're actually talking about AI in OneDrive, which is kind of like robots, I would say. For those of you that saw our OneDrive event, you might remember Jason, our VP of product, showing off some of the AI goodness from both a files and organization side of things, as well as from a photo side of things. And so today we're going to be taking a closer look at both of those areas with our two experts, Arjun Tomar, who's leading the charge on our AI and files experience, and Lisa Miao, our leader for AI and photos. It's a little bit of business and a little bit of consumer. I love it. Arjun and Lisa, welcome. Tell us about yourselves. Arjun, you go first.
Thank you, Alvin. Great to be here. I hope I match the energy that you and Stephen bring to this. For everyone who's listening in, my name's Arjun Tomar. I am a product manager on the OneDrive team. Yeah, coming to you live from New York.
Ooh, very nice. We got East Coast represented and West Coast so far. Lisa, how about yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa. I am on the OneDrive team. I support the photo space, and I am coming in from Vancouver. So a little bit of an international person here as well.
Yeah, I think this might be our most geographically diverse podcast we've done yet, which is awesome. Okay, now, as usual, before we can get into the meat of the discussion, we get to have a little bit of fun with our icebreaker question. Sometimes these are serious, sometimes they're fun. Sometimes I edited it at the last minute because I liked Arvind's intro so much. So today, Lisa, Arvind, Arjun, I want to know, who is your favorite fictional robot or artificial intelligence? Could be a book, could be a movie, could be a comic. Arvind, why don't you kick us off?
Oh, this is maybe not a super popular one, but I would go with Haley Joel Osment, from like the movie AI that Spielberg did. He was really cute. And that robot was like, you felt bad for him. You felt really awful when he was at the bottom of the ocean and just wanted to have one more day with his human mom. So, I think that was a robot that was very touching is what I would say. So, Lisa, what about you? What robot is your favorite?
I don't know. I think I've got to say WALL-E. Pixar tugs at your heartstrings and all of their movies. And I don't remember how old I was when I watched WALL-E, but it was definitely one of my favorites. I mean, so adorable. It was just an entire movie without a lot of words. And somehow that little robot really managed to convey a lot of feelings. So probably my favorite.
I really like that choice, Lisa. And I think you nailed it on the head. Like the first, 20 minutes or so of WALL-E, or I always point to because there's no dialogue for the opening of that film. And they tell such an amazing story in such a short time. It's awesome. Pixar's good at what they do.
They don't make them like they used to.
Classic Pixar.
All right. Arjun, you want to go next?
How about Han Tyson? I'm kidding. That is a very controversial choice. Now, I want to say Jarvis, right? Like a super intelligent AI assistant, always at your call and behest. I mean, how cool is that? And he's British, so always well-mannered, cannot go rogue unless he's infiltrated by Ultron. So I don't know. Jarvis sounds like a good bet, right? Someone who can give me all the information that I need at my fingertips. That would be my choice.
It's almost like we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. I will close us out. I mean, I feel like this is maybe slightly obvious. I'm going to have to go with one of the many amazing droids in Star Wars. I think I might go with Chopper, of most recently from Ahsoka, but of Rebels fame. Think of it like R2-D2, but with like a lot more sass and a heavy desire to commit war crimes. And that's just always entertaining out of, a spicy little droid.
He is pretty spicy. I was going to say, man. Thank you for not mentioning BB-8. So.
Sorry. Okay, here. I'll tell my one like amazing droid story because now I have to because of you, Arvind. So I was at Celebration, which is the Star Wars convention, when they like aired the first trailer for Episode 7. Huge applause, especially like when Han Solo comes on screen. It's all amazing. And the audience, we'd watched it. And one of the things I think that was a big fear of the community at the time was, episodes 1, 2, and 3 were very CGI heavy. And we just saw a trailer. We saw an adorable new droid. Okay, it's probably CGI. And then they had BB-8 roll out on stage and react to the audience. And everyone just went nuts because it was a practical prop and it was amazing. So BB-8 does have a special place in my heart, if only for that.
Sounds like quite a moment. Well, I have a question for both you. And you too, Stephen, as well.
Thank you for including me.
Always, man. So this time of year, seasonal, we got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's a time of eating. Let's and Diwali for that matter. What is a food that is like a comfort food for this time of year? Whatever holiday you associate it with, let us know. But like, what is a food that you end up really just like it takes you back?
I can kick this one off. I'm gonna give the most stereotypical answer, but every Thanksgiving I do like a turkey dinner. So roast turkey, which is a thing I learned to make with my grandmother. Cooking in the kitchen with her. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy. Like that's all I need for Thanksgiving. Because of my wife, have added rolls, so you can do little turkey sandwiches are also fantastic. But like for me, nothing beats just roasted carved turkey and then eating on for days and days after that.
Oh, that smell when it's cooking is just like waking up in the morning. It's amazing. What about you, Arjun?
For me, it would be something to do with Diwali, right? Diwali coincides with Thanksgiving in the US. And I have this fond memory of, because it doesn't get as cold in India as it does in the US, but when the evenings used to turn cold, it's the perfect time to just do some vegetable fritters. So potatoes, onions, green chilies, the likes, mix them up and then have it with, some piping hot chai. It just like hits the spot. So like, I feel like this time of the year is a perfect season to indulge in like oily and spicy food because, you're hiding under sweaters, the fat doesn't show. Come on, like there's no better time to indulge, right?
Oh my gosh. And I'm thinking of these pakoras that Arjun is like talking. I'm assuming you're talking about pakoras, right? Like,
yes, I'm talking about pakoras, correct.
Arjun's laughing at my pronunciation more than anything. So, Lisa, what about you?
Oh man, this one's a hard one to answer because like being from an immigrant family, we didn't do a lot of traditional, I would say, Thanksgiving, and not to mention in Canada, Thanksgiving is a little bit earlier. So it's actually made mid-October, not end of November as it is down in the US. But we never really did, at least in my household, any true Thanksgiving traditions. So I think the food that takes me back the most to like just this winter season is probably just a really good soup. Like my mom growing up would just make really good soups and they would just, there were a bunch that she would always make, but the one that kind of sticks in my mind constantly is just this like hearty, but clean in that it wasn't super thick. But it was like a really nice soup with pork belly, melons, winter melon, carrots, and it was just so soothing. And that was just my favorite thing growing up and still is one of my favorite things as I am grown up.
That's awesome. Did you actually learn how to cook said soup? Because it sounds awesome.
No, I cook about 0.5% of all meals in my household currently. So it is my greatest ambition to make my husband learn all of my parents' recipes before.
It's a solid strategy.
Before we start a family. So I'll probably get on that this year. It's a good reminder.
Well, I will close this out and I will say this time of year, yes, I love the turkey. I love waking up to the smell of it, but I also like pumpkin pie. Like not, I think Starbucks has taken pumpkin and done something else with it, but I still love pumpkin pie with good old like Ready Whip or Cool Whip even as topping. It's amazing. So can't get enough. Excellent. Well then, I think that's enough of the icebreaker time. So let's go ahead and dive in. First up, we want to talk about OneDrive in Copilot. And so if you remember, for those of you that watched the October event, Jason showed some awesome new features that we're thinking about on the OneDrive side to make your life that much easier. But I want to start off, Arjun, with something a little bit more general and just ask you, just generally, like AI, like what is it good for in OneDrive?
It's actually a good question because that's something we kind of went back and forth about. There's so much that you can do with AI. I mean, we've all seen the incredible momentum and noise that got generated with ChatGPT and then all the AI advancements and features that have launched since then. And then every time you go online, you find these amazing hacky scenarios that someone has built with a ChatGPT wrapper, right? So just the breadth of things that you can accomplish with AI is staggering. And you can really get lost in that noise because you start thinking and dreaming of all these scenarios that you want to bring to your products, right? And then you start thinking about all the ways in which you can transform your products, right? So it really does become a challenge for us to even figure out among all the things that AI can promise and deliver, what is it that you want to bring to market and what is it that you want to bring to your product and how will it benefit the users? That's really where we started from. We actually went back to the core job to be done, right? Like, what do our users care about the most? What do they want to accomplish when they use OneDrive, right? And what are the unique challenges that they face today that AI can help solve? And we found that to be a really humbling exercise because it really grounds the future in, yes, we want to bring all these amazing and transformational things, but at the core of it, there's some, there are things and scenarios that our users just care about so much, and even a little bit of help can go a long way.
This is fantastic, Arjun. There is such a wealth of possibility out there, but I know Microsoft is working to cut through a lot of that noise and really make sure we get down to, the key needs and things that our customers want solved. I know we recently conducted some broader research into that kind of effort. Can you tell us what we learned about that?
It was conducted for about 30,000 people. So it was a large sample size. And the one stat that really, stuck with me was that 64%, almost 2/3 of the people said that they don't have the time to do the things they care about at work. And I looked at that figure and it really stopped me in my track because I looked at it and I reflected and I said, that is so correct. Because, ever since COVID and ever since we've embraced hybrid work, the amount of information that we have to sift through, the amount of noise and the amount of just actual things we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis at work, in your home, is just insurmountable, right? It's just excessive. And as we embrace hybrid culture even more, it's only going to go higher. So that was something we really stopped and looked at because that's something we obviously want to solve for, right? We want people to do the things they care about and not be bogged down by getting drowned in emails or getting drowned in links that are being sent to them and, the 10 files that are shared, every hour and so on and so forth, right? And we followed that up with, all right, so if that is what our users are struggling with, what do we think AI can help with? Again, so this research was really amazing because not only did it go through the pain points that users are going through on a daily basis, but then it proceeded to ask them, all right, so if this is what you're facing on a day-to-day basis, how would you like AI to help solve all of this? And it was amazing in the responses that we got. And some would actually resonate, with you.
My favorite is always the like, hey, Steven, adding you to this, 20 long email chain, or here's a 20-page document that I need your feedback on. Go. Always fun.
Correct. Exactly, right? Let's just take that example, right? So imagine you get added to this random thread, right? Then you have to do all the work to literally crawl back to the beginning of that conversation. Understand what people are talking about, understand all the documents and all the insights that have been shared. And only then can you start to even start your work or start to even give input on what you've been added to. And so just to summarize all of that, I think that's where we started from. And I believe when you look at all the things that our users are telling us that, hey, it would be great if AI can help us do all of this. What excites me is that if you look at all those questions and all those areas of opportunities that our users want us to go solve, actually OneDrive is uniquely positioned, right, to help solve a lot of those concerns, right? And I say that we're uniquely positioned to lift the weight of work. And I actually truly believe in that.
Let's start with that kind of last scenario you were describing. We're sent so many documents and I need to find the things I care about. Like Arvind kind of mentioned, we had this October event. Jason was up on stage and did some fancy Copilot type demos. What are we doing specifically in that space of, dare I name it, like search and looking for the files that I care about? How does Copilot in OneDrive help me find and connect me to my files?
So it's a great question. So the example that I want to draw is the reason ChatGPT was so successful, and it is successful, is because it gave you access to all the information of the internet, right? So now imagine you have a smart AI assistant that can take all the information that exists on the internet and then give you answers accordingly. Now imagine if you could do that on your OneDrive content and your OneDrive and SharePoint content or your enterprise content. How incredibly amazing would that be, right? So imagine a supercomputer or this Jarvis, to my earlier example, being able to just give you answers on all the content that's present across your enterprise. So instead of you now trying to search for the file, your relationship with search changes, right? Because we typically want to find files because we're looking for some information embedded in those files, right? So like searching for files is often only the start of that process. But if you have this AI assistant that understands and can reason over the content that's present in your OneDrive, that's present in your SharePoint, or that's present in your, in your enterprise, then you can ask it to find any information, right, that you're looking for, and it will be able to give you quick answers. And then you can carry on that conversation. So imagine if you wanted to ask, hey, why are sales down in Q3? Copilot can understand the context around that, search for the relevant documents, give you the answer, and then give you even follow-up suggestions on what other questions you might ask, right? Or what other files that are present in your, in your enterprise library that you can now go and look at to get even more information.
I like how you characterize like it's the idea that it's changing your relationship with search. Because like in my mind, what that means is when we used to do search, it was all about using the right tools, the right filters, the query strings to get right at the data that you're looking at. Now you don't have to worry about any of that anymore. And you can just actually focus on like what would have been the next step once you found that data, which is like the synthesis, the interpretation of it, the presentation of it. And so you're essentially like Copilot has the potential to get rid of that very, very time consuming step, which changes your relationship to search. It lets you actually kind of skip it.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, Arvind. It changes your relationship with search, but it also allows you to search exactly for the things you're looking for. So when we want to search for things, we already have a mental model of the things we're looking for. So I would say, I want you to find files shared by Arvind in the last week on this particular topic. Now, having that kind of search and having that kind of search query, in a traditional search, it gets complicated. You have multiple tags.
There's searches, there's
Exactly.
filters, there's like all of these different controls that come into play, right?
But now you can just ask Copilot to give you that, and then it will go through your content and give you exactly what you're looking for. So it uses natural language search, of course, to make your search experience better. But then the better thing is, like you said, it actually gives you the information you're looking for. And so that to me is the most useful part of solving the problem and the question around search, because now you can just have a natural conversation and keep having that conversation until your answers have been delivered. So if you're not happy with what the answer that you got, you can ask it another question and it will again do that search for you and keep giving you answers, and you'll keep learning more.
Let me ask you kind of a follow-up question, Arjun. So this is a common question we've seen as customers hear the scenario you're describing is, how does Copilot and how does these kind of search type scenarios, how do I know that my content is still being saved? Does Copilot have unexpected access to my content? How does all of that work? How do I know that my business data is still being safe, even when my users are using Copilot?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first thing, we want to make it very clear, again, we have comprehensive privacy and compliance controls on all your enterprise data, right? So data security is paramount to Microsoft. It will always continue to be that. Again, your data is your data. We don't, it doesn't leak outside of your enterprise, even though you're engaging with Copilot. And we don't train Copilot or any LLM model on your data without your permission. So whatever is the scope of your content that's already stored in your OneDrive and your SharePoint or in your enterprise, it just reasons over that. So think about if ChatGPT can reason over a predefined timeline of the internet and then just give you reasoning over it, the same applies to Copilot, in OneDrive or in SharePoint or anywhere that you might use it, because it only understands the scope that you define for it, right? So if you're using, and this is where it gets interesting, because we want to give a scoped experience to users. So if the user wants to search or wants to engage with Copilot in OneDrive, we first want to scope it to content stored in your OneDrive. So we'll first go through that. If it doesn't find the answer that it's looking for, it will go one scope up. So we'll search our SharePoint content, right? And try and see whether it can find information related to that. And then finally, if it doesn't find the information that you're looking for, will it go one level up and then search for your enterprise content? It will not give you answers that you don't have access to, right? Because it understands, sharing restrictions. So if a file is marked as confidential and it's not shared with you, then it's not present, for you in your OneDrive, and you don't have access to it in SharePoint. So again, Copilot will not be able to reason over that.
Yeah, Copilot's not going to show me the stuff that
you don't have
I
access
don't
to.
actually. I don't have access to. I couldn't find it in search. I couldn't find it in other ways. Copilot's not going to expose it. Love
exactly. That's actually a very great way of putting it. If you're not able to find a file by searching in your OneDrive or your SharePoint, then Copilot literally sees the same information. So it won't be able to find it for you.
Nice.
Cool. That's a super clean message. Sorry, I was just plus wanting that.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of the other kind of scenarios we talked about earlier, Arjun, which is we talked about summarizing emails, summarizing chat threads. How does Copilot help me summarize my documents or my content? Where does that show up and play in OneDrive?
I mean, OneDrive is so incredibly positioned for that, right? I mean, summarizing emails is a great example of avoiding information overload, but I'm sure all of us have been in scenarios where multiple files have been shared with us, and somehow sometimes you don't even know whether these files are relevant for the work that we're doing or not, right? So the great thing about Copilot in OneDrive, which we're working on, is not only can you do single file summarization, but you can do multiple file summarization as well. So you can actually ask Copilot, share all files shared by Arvind in the last 7 days, right? And it will understand that and actually give you a summary of, let's say, the last 10 files Arvind has shared with me in the last week. And you never even have to open these files. You get direct context without opening a single file. That's incredible, right? Because it saves you so much time. It gets you caught up in no time. But we want to take summarization to the next level. I think Jason demoed that during the October moment. It's not just about file summarization, but how can we enable our users to just get caught up in as little time as possible? Something that we've all faced is we've gone on vacations or we've been away from our work and we come back and we find that hundreds of files have been shared with us, multiple comments have been addressed to us, and so on and so forth. And we find it incredibly difficult to even get started. Where do we even start catching up, right? So imagine a scenario in which, since Copilot can now do file summarization, how about a scenario in which it understands the recent files that have been shared with you? It summarizes that. It understands, the comments where you've been tagged, and summarizes comments, right? And not just summarizes comments, but also gives you suggested replies, right? It also helps you prepare for upcoming meetings. So if I have 10 meetings today that I have to attend, and all those 10 meetings have files attached as agenda, I can now summarize, I can ask Copilot to summarize these files, and lo and behold, you're caught up, right? On all the discussion that are supposed to happen, on that day. So not only are we looking at file summarization as a way for you to catch up on files, but we're also looking at this aspect of Copilot to take large pieces of volume and synthesize it in easy to catch and easy to read and easy to digest information. We're looking at bringing these overall catch-up scenarios to OneDrive as well, where it will be able to help you summarize recently shared files or comments that have been directed at you, or even files in upcoming meetings.
I think a new tagline for Copilot should be the tool that you need when you come back from vacation. Because I feel like that will sell it to everyone. Like, because who likes that experience when they come back?
Absolutely. Okay, Arjun, I've got another tricky-ish kind of question for you. Maybe not tricky. So Copilot is the word we've been using to describe all of this. All these scenarios you're describing, do I need to be in OneDrive and open up the Copilot button or whatever it might be in order to be able to use it? Or will this work from the Teams Copilot or the Outlook Copilot? How should I think about Copilot when it comes to like the suite as a whole, all of the apps and products?
Yeah, it's a great point. See, a lot will go under the hood for this, but as far as our users are concerned, we want to deliver an experience so that they're only interacting with one Copilot, right?
We
don't want them to think of Copilot in isolation, that, there's a different Copilot in OneDrive and there's a different Copilot in Teams, right? Of course, there will be skills and there will be scenarios that one Copilot or a Copilot experience in a particular app is able to deliver, much better.
Sure, tailored. Yep.
Exactly. But we want an experience where you're able to engage with Copilot uniformly across all the apps and be able to even hand off, right? So if I've been engaging with Copilot in OneDrive and I switch to Teams, there should be a proper handoff so that, my history and my session with Copilot in OneDrive carries on to Teams and I can just continue having the conversation. Or vice versa. If I'm in Teams, I can just ask Copilot to share a file that's, stored in my OneDrive with, a chat in Teams, right? So again, as far as the end user is concerned, we want there to be one Copilot experience so that no matter where you are, your experiences are uniform.
So let's talk about the last scenario that Jason kind of talked about, which was this ability to create your own personal knowledge library. Can you walk us through what does Copilot do to enable this sort of personal knowledge library type scenario? How does it work?
Yeah, it kind of builds on the point that I was earlier making. Like, if you really think about how we work, anything I talked about, catching up, finding files, they're linked, right? They're not discrete things that you do in isolation. They're all in service to a task that you want to perform, right? So to illustrate my point, let's say that you're a new team member who's just joined like a new team or a new company, and your task is to sell something in a certain market, right? And let's call this project, I don't know, Project BB8 or Project Jarvis, right? Now, if you're onboarding, the first thing you would want to do is, hang on, can I just find all the information that's present, on this particular project? So you ask Copilot, hey, what are the files that contain information on, let's say, Project Jarvis, right? Copilot will help you find that file or find that set of files. But again, that's only the start. You can then say, actually summarize these files for me, get an understanding of which files are relevant without even opening them. And when you're happy with that set of files that Copilot has returned for you, you can quickly organize them, right? So you could ask Copilot to say, hey, now, of the files that you've just shown me, actually put them in a folder. So imagine something that would have taken you like 10, 20, steps was done in like 3 steps. Copilot was able to find the files for you. You were able to ask Copilot for relevant information on that file without even opening these documents. And then whenever you're happy, you can quickly organize those files into a folder. But that's when things get really interesting, because as soon as you organize these files that have been returned by Copilot into its unique working space in your own folder, Copilot understands the context of these files, right? And it can start recommending even other files that may be relevant that you didn't include in your earlier search, right? And these files may or may not be in your OneDrive. So they may be in your SharePoint, or they may be, spread across your enterprise. And so not only can Copilot say, hey, there are these other files that may be relevant to this project that you are searching for. How about we add these files to this folder, right? And with the click of a button, you can do that, right? And then Copilot will also understand that, the files that are not present in your OneDrive, let's just add shortcuts and links. So essentially what started as, I am just starting out, I need to learn more about this project, has now turned from, finding files to Copilot help me not only just find files, but create my own knowledge library, because it found me the files, helped me create like a folder, and then even suggested other files that I didn't even think about and added them, so that within 30 minutes, I don't know how much time it will take, but like within a very short amount of time, you've created your own knowledge library to get you started.
I love that scenario. And I think this all speaks to, you said that initial framing you walked us through of like, what do people actually need? Coming back from vacation, I need to catch up on my content. We've all been there. Joining a new team, joining a new company, trying to figure out like, what is this feature I'm supposed to be working on? We've all been there. I don't know. It just takes us back. Like, I love all the grounding that the team has taken and where we're going with all of this. So I think the last question for you, Arjun, is you described a bunch of amazing stuff. When can our customers expect to get their hands and start trying out some of this OneDrive and Copilot goodness?
Yes. That is a great question. It's
coming in our lifetime, right?
It is definitely coming soon.
Okay. Go ahead.
We're working fast, right? So expect a lot of goodness to come early next year. So starting 2024, I think we want to release some great foundational experiences first, right? That helps solve a lot of the scenarios around finding information and, being able to reason over your OneDrive and your SharePoint content. So I think that's something that a lot of users are looking for and excited about. So we want to come to market with that. And then we have a lot of exciting, features that we're actively scoping and building, but I don't have committed timelines for that. But you will hear more in early next year, and then you will hear even more, later next year, is what I can say at this point.
Clear. What a safe answer.
2024, year of the robot. Do you guys remember, like, when was what was it called? Not D-Day. Why am I blanking? Terminator. What's the...
Terminator?
Like Terminator
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. Thank you. It wasn't 2024.
I think it was like 99, wasn't it? I think it was 1999 or something, right?
Fine then. Okay.
Yeah, like we've already passed it. We made it past DA. Well, Arjun, thank you so much. We could obviously talk to you a ton about AI and our files. I think we've highlighted the 2 demos that we want to see in the future for the public, like starting on the first day and also coming back from vacation. So I know you'll be hard at work. But we've got to switch gears and talk about some AI features that are actually in customers' hands. So at the October event, Jason also took time to demo AI in photos. So for all of our consumers out there, we are releasing these features right now to our test audiences. And Lisa, please tell us about what's out and what people are actually using right now.
Yeah, for sure. So super excited to announce, and I would definitely encourage everybody to go and watch the actual video because it is just so cool to see it in person that Jason and the rest of the OD leadership team presented. But essentially, we launched 2 features as part of our announcement. One around face grouping, so the ability to detect the faces or people specifically within your photographs and group them together so that you can better name those people, so you can get back to those people that you care about the most faster, easier, see all of the photos of those people together in one place. And then secondly, we also launched something called semantic language search, which really, as Arjun kind of mentioned, revolutionizes our way of searching. Because up until now, you've had to do a bit of a guessing game to say, oh, I've got this photo. There's a plant in there, I think. Maybe it was on 4th of July, so maybe there was fireworks. I really hope fireworks came through in this photo. So up until now, it's been very much keyword search, and we are now moving towards semantic language search. So if you do put 4th of July as an example, the system should be smart enough to know, hey, you're talking about 4th of July, there's probably fireworks. Let me go look for photos like that within your collection. So really, really cool feature. And what I am personally most excited about is not those 2 features separately on its own, but actually put together. So now using the power of face grouping, where now I can name some of my groupings of, like, for example, my niece, Laurel, I can now write queries into my ecosystem along the lines of my niece and I together building a snowman, right? And even if the snowman is not quite a snowman, so therefore maybe the keyword didn't quite come through in the original tagging architecture.
Or maybe the snowman itself, right? Like maybe it didn't actually look like a snowman.
Maybe it's a snow woman. Who knows, right? But
it's not our job to judge the quality of snowmen or snow women. Everyone has different skill levels.
Exactly.
Actually, it's a hobby of mine. I go around looking at kids' snowmen. I totally judge them.
And you put like a blue ribbon on the ones that you like and a participation.
Or I steal the carrot from those. Oh. Yeah, I don't like it.
Right. But yeah, so now with this feature and the power of face tagging and semantic language search, I can search up things like my niece Laurel and I building a snowman, and the system should be smart enough to know, hey, I'm going to look for photos, first of all, of you and your niece Laurel, who you've named in the system, and secondly, you've mentioned snowman, snow person. I'm going to look for photos that are like that concept. So it's super, super cool, super, super powerful. And I'm just so excited about it.
These tools, I think, are indispensable for the future. I mean, if you think about no one deletes photos, right? And so we're only adding thousands of photos a year if you like to take photos, or videos, right? And, historically, it was easy. When you only had 1,000 photos, you could be like, okay, I remember this photo. It was from 4th of July. It was in, 2019. And you'd go through this whole sort of calculation in your head to find it. And now when people have 10,000 photos or 15,000 photos, being able to have this type of search it's critical.
I cannot underscore, Lisa, how excited I am. I got the notification earlier today that, the new face grouping was available. I'm eagerly watching the little hamster running in the wheel in my phone, letting me know that it is searching and working on categorizing people. And it's to date, my solution is I want to find, like I said, pictures with my niece. We went on that trip in April, I think, of like 2 years ago. Let me like try and scroll back through my phone to April, look through a bunch of photos. Like, nope, it's not there, not there. Oh no, it was a May trip. Never mind. This is, like you said, like Arjun said, like you've said, it changes the gesture and like I said, pairing with semantic language to the point of, I don't need to search for, specific keywords. I can just like, no, photos with my niece. Done. That is how I would describe it to other people. It's how I describe it to my phone. And now it's going to tell me. Like, that's so cool.
I was literally able to find this photo the other day that I was looking for. It was like Taj Taj is my son, in a penguin suit. Like literally, he's like wearing a penguin suit. All you can see is sort of his face, but it recognized. I didn't have to go through like 10,000 photos. Just a Taj in a penguin suit with a snowy belly.
Right. Yeah. In the past, you would have been like, penguin costume, maybe. And then you'll have to like look through a bunch of photos of penguins, actual penguins, to find that photo. So super, super, super helpful to have it pinpoint exactly what you mean when you say penguin suit. I also wanted to highlight some other kind of things around semantic language search that people may not think about. So, of course, it uses semantic language in the way that we've just spoken about it. But maybe some less obvious examples of this is, for example, it also helps with misspellings, right? So, Halloween, I can't maybe I'm just not a great typer. I can never remember how many E's and how many L's there are in Halloween. But the system, because it's all vector based, and that's the technology behind this, it knows that people will misspell things, right? And there's the classic example of desert versus dessert. And because it's all a relational mapping to each other, the system's actually smart enough to know, hey, you search for desert, but maybe you don't actually have any desert photos in your photo collection. Maybe as a skip and a hop away is a ton of photos of dessert. Let me surface that up for you and ask if that's what you're looking for. So I think even just by having this relational mapping, it actually really helps you find what you're looking for. Even if you're not super accurate with your search query, which at least I know for myself is something that I struggle with.
Can I just point out one thing though? I think like a lot of users listening in, like whatever Lisa is describing, of course, that is such a game changer for people who take photos in their daily lives on a day-to-day basis. But even for like our customers, right? The ability to have like semantic search enabled for photos they take for work is such a game changer, right? Because I remember I had a customer who was in drilling, in construction, and the amount of photos that they took was insane, right? And someone had to do the job of categorizing them and even organizing them and apply like the right metadata and all of that. I mean, you can imagine that with semantic search, right, Lisa? Like all of those scenarios are just fulfilled in seconds, and you just like really transform like how people even engage with media at work.
A lot of this just reminds me of like if you go back, when did the iPhone come out? Sorry, not iPhone, iTouch. No, what was it called? What was before iPhone?
iPod Touch.
iPod Touch. Thank you. Okay, sorry. I was like, iTouch. That doesn't sound right. But no, it reminds me a lot of that era of like, going from requiring users to learn keyboard, mouse, file systems, like all these things that users can do and they're successful at, like it's a necessary skill. But to, I see the box on my screen, I touch the box. I know how to touch the box. Semantics language, whether it's Copilot or, inside of OneDrive, Photos experience, there's so much of the stuff that you could do before if you knew what you were doing. Like Arvind, you mentioned Google, and I'm always reminded of like Google has all these fancy filters and groupings and things you can do if you know the special language. I've never been smart enough to spend time learning that and memorizing it. But semantic language, bringing it down a level to like, no, just describe what you're looking for, and the model can understand that and turn your misspelled intent into action is just undeniably powerful. It changes. It really is. I don't know. I think it's transformational, to borrow the overloaded tech term.
It's bringing search to everybody. But quick question for you, Lisa, or maybe this is not a quick question. Privacy. I mean, that's a huge concern, right? You've got photos, we're scanning people's faces, and you want to make sure people are only searching for things that they should have access to. How are we protecting people's privacy with this new technology?
Yeah, super great question. I think first and foremost, I really want to emphasize that Microsoft cares about the privacy and security of our users and their photos. So obviously, we're compliant with all of the Microsoft terms and conditions, as well as any local legislation that may apply around data collection. And honestly, that space is a little turbulent right now. There are special laws that are in place in different states across the US, but it's not always consistent on a federal level. So there are a lot of moving pieces here. Then second of all, I really want to stress that within OneDrive, we don't use any of the biometric data that we collect through our processing for anything else. So anything you give us, we keep locked up within your account. We don't share that data. So say you have a photo that's been tagged with people, and then you share that photo with a friend or an acquaintance or someone from work. We don't share that biometric data with that person, right? So whatever biometric data we collected to use to group your faces or group your people, we keep that locked up in your account. And then secondly, any feedback that you give us for our system. So for example, if you're like, hey, person 1 and person 2, you group them separately, but they're actually one person. Maybe they were just, these are the baby photos and these are the adult photos type of thing. And you merge them together because they should just be one entity. We take that feedback and we try to improve the experience for your account going forward. But we don't use that to train our model as a whole. So definitely rest assured that we take your privacy really, really seriously, and we are not in the business of sharing or selling any of that data with anybody else.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Lisa. Thanks for walking through it. I like with Copilot, this is, I think, one of the most common questions we get as we've talked about these features. And I think it's great that we've got very clearly established principles and that we're following through on them. Like it makes a big deal.
100%. Yeah. Hey, Lisa, one quick thing. Jason also showed at the event a photos feature that's coming for our business customers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So we are launching the new media tab next year within our business space. If you've been with us along our OneDrive Photos journey, you've noticed that we've made a lot of investments and a lot of improvements within our consumer OneDrive space. And that made sense strategically, right? Consumers are our biggest base in terms of our photos usage. We knew that if we wanted to crack the nut on photo scenarios, we should start with consumers because that's where the majority of our users use photos. And that's just where the most attention and love comes from in terms of photos. But now that we've proven out a lot of our capabilities, including the new web experience that launched on our consumer photos platform earlier this year, now's the time to bring it to commercial. So next year we will be launching, and this is just the first step of many, but we will be launching a photos node within the commercial space that is going to be very similar to our photos experience on consumer web. And we're going to start there. We're going to iterate because obviously the job's to be done and the scenarios are still quite different on commercial than on consumer. For example, we expect that most of commercial photos will be more maybe screenshots or document-ish based. There will be more pictures of whiteboards or maybe even more videos because a lot of people save videos through Teams or recordings, all of that. So we will be iterating to figure out how we adapt that capability for our commercial customers, but super excited to start with the media node next year.
That is awesome. I know we've had a lot of customers over the years ask for this feature, so it's great to see that we're actually delivering it. Question for you. What else is coming in the photo space over the next, 12 months or less?
So there's a bunch of things that I'm super excited about, but I will kind of reemphasize the strategy that we still want to lean into our consumer space first as kind of the major growth opportunity and honestly a little bit of our test bed of some of our experiences before we move over to the commercial space. So just as a caveat, know that this is where you're going to find the latest and greatest and groundbreaking capabilities. So please join us on OneDrive mobile for consumer. And that's not just because I have a KR around that, but specifically some of the features that I'm really excited about. So number one, we are leaning into our partnership with OpenAI to use some of the LLMs to build generative AI capabilities. So we're starting off with some skill sets around like magic eraser and background blur. That's kind of where we're starting. But really, the world's our oyster, right? If you've played around with DALL-E in the past or any of our generative capabilities, you'll know that there's just so much out there. And there's just so much opportunity for us to deliver value to our users. So we are exploring a bunch of different capabilities right now, but really hoping to bring a new world of generative editing to our consumer users really quickly. That's one.
That's cool. I mean, will it be able to do something with this face right here on my face?
I'm trying to figure out what specifically you're
just
referring to.
Just all of it. Like, yeah, can it fix it?
Nothing can fix that, Arvind.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Arvind, I think
I can be better. I can be better with generative AI. Come on now.
You're just looking for like those deep TikTok filters, Arvind.
I'm like, I think you're pretty great as you are, Arvind. I don't know how much fixing there needs. I don't know how to answer that question. Well, I mean, there's going to be magic eraser, so you can erase whatever you like.
Can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. So we're starting first with some of the more tried and true capabilities, right? So like magic eraser, background blur, those are kind of the starting points for us, and they're also a little bit from a technical perspective a little bit easier to do than generating something completely brand new and then stitching that seamlessly into your photo. But yeah, that's totally part of our vision. Like, we really want to give our users the power to recreate the memory or the moment that they experienced the way they see it, right? And I think right now, when you take a photo, when you take a video, that's just one view. But we really want to give users whatever tools they need to recreate it in a realistic way for them. Whether that means like building this into like a 3D model, if that's something that they care about, capturing specific audio that's part of the video, putting on a filter, because that's just like, that's the silliness that you want to come through in that memory. We want to give users the tools to do all of that.
That's great. And what are we thinking about, like, in terms of like sharing like these memories? Like, how do we think about that? Because that's a major part of the memories experience, I think, right?
Yeah. Maybe before we get to sharing, I'll touch on the second thing I'm super excited about.
Oh, sure.
Because I think that'll lead well into the sharing story. So obviously, being able to edit the photos the way you want, super important. But one thing we just talked about right before this is that people are creating more photos than ever before, right? They're creating thousands of photos, if not tens of thousands of photos per year. And it's just so hard for consumers, especially, to keep up with that volume and really reconnect with their most important moments versus the pictures of receipts or the pictures of the ground, because that's just where my phone was pointed at the time.
It's like you've seen my camera roll. I don't know. I thought you said you didn't look at my photos, Lisa.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're a special case to it. So that's the other thing I'm super excited about. By building out capabilities like face grouping and semantic search, we'll actually be able to start serving more specific and relevant memories to you. And what I mean by memories is today we have a memory construct. You may have seen some notifications from it called On This Day. So that's a fairly, I would say, generic feature where it looks back 365 days or beyond from your current day, and then tries to find photos from this day for you to relive. And that's great. Like, we get a lot of great feedback and a lot of happy feedback from our users. But in the future, we really want to start moving towards a world where we can give you more specific memories, right? So it's not just on this day, whatever you did, October. Well, I mean, I guess today is a very special day. Today, at the time of taping, it's October 31st, so it's Halloween. So today is probably a bit of a special day, but we should be able to serve you more memories, even if it's not a special day, right? So maybe you did your Halloween party on the weekend instead of actually on Halloween. We really want to be able to find those types of cool memories for you and help bring you back and help you relive those experiences. So that's what I'm also really excited about. By building all of this foundational work that we did this year, we're going to be able to just build way more memories and also way more relevant memories so that hopefully when you come into the app, you're not just coming in and going, oh my gosh, I have like 10, 20,000 photos and I don't know where to begin. You're coming back into the app and you're going, hey, this was such a nice moment, Halloween 2023. This was cool for these reasons. And I want to see more of that. And that really helps you relive those moments you maybe just have forgotten over the years.
That is awesome. I mean, like I think just like having the semantic search and being able to wade through your photos, having a way to experience them organically in a way that's meaningful is awesome. Giving everyone that first experience when they get into their photo album or their photo app and just seeing like, oh, I know every time I open it, I'm going to smile because it's going to be saying the relevant thing. That's like, that will be addictive when we get there. So I'm excited for that. So I think we are almost out of time, Stephen. So what do we got to say here? One, thank you, Lisa and Arjun, for joining us today. This was a great conversation. I feel like we could have talked with you guys for another hour. Just so our audience knows, how would they find more information about you? Are you out on LinkedIn or Threads? How can people reach out to you? Lisa.
I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Threads, but I don't know if I'm easily searchable. I only use it to stalk other people that I care about, mostly other AI people, which speaks to how boring I am. But I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to look me up, Lisa Miao, last name is Miao. Follow me there or shoot me a message if you have any questions.
Yeah, same for me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Arjun Tomar, so ARJUNTOMAR. Should be fairly easy to find me there, though I'm pretty sure I have a terrible profile picture that I haven't updated in 3-4 years. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, but I don't use that much often. Again, Arjun Tomar. I was able to start that username actually because I was one of the early users. So I should have done more with that Twitter handle, but I haven't. But LinkedIn is the best way to reach me.
Yeah, thank you again, both of you, for joining us. If you want to learn more about OneDrive, hear the latest and greatest, you can check out our blog at aka.ms/OneDrive/blog. You can find myself at linkedin.com/in/srice08. Arvind is LinkedIn, Arvind Mishra 1. As Arvind said at the top, you can join the newsletter, get updates from the team directly. That's aka.ms/OneDrive/join. I'm not going to read the HTTP at the beginning like Arvind did because I figure you're all...
I'm awkward that way, you know, like...
I just really needed to make sure I threw one more needle at you before we end. And then, email us. We've got an email set up so you can send us feedback, send us questions. I can't promise we'll read all of them on the air because maybe you're going to send us stuff we can't read on the air. But if you want to have your questions answered, you can send it at syncupquestions@microsoft.com.
As always, we love hearing from you, our listeners. You can reach us also on Twitter at OneDrive. And if you've got a question, just tag it with #SyncUp. You can visit the pages that Stephen outlined up above, and you can also get more information at aka.ms/syncup.
Don't forget to subscribe to SyncUp wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy SyncUp, if you find it useful, tell your friends. Word of mouth is one of the best ways to get people engaged, help us grow the show. If you're curious about other Microsoft podcasts, check out aka.ms/Microsoft/podcasts. And as always, a huge thanks to Lisa, the producer Lisa, for making this podcast possible.
Thanks everybody for listening to Sync Up. We've been your hosts, Stephen and Arvind, and we'll catch up with you next month. Stay safe.